Hello and welcome back to Silverstone. We will be continuing the Mason route because that's the only route that is available at the current time. So it's been a while since this visual novel updated, but it finally did. And I don't really remember what was going on. I think that Mason was sort of having issues with his brother Ezekiel, Mason being the black and white hitty in the back and the pink polo, I think. Or was that a button up? I don't remember. Ezekiel being the hyena who was the main character, who's kind of seeing things, I think, or hearing things. I don't really remember. He kind of wants his stepbrother back. Because they haven't been communicating, or they haven't communicated after the parents got divorced, I think, which was 15 years ago, I think. I don't really remember. It's been a while. And after you choose to split the drink with Mason, I believe that they decide to go somewhere, and Mason starts acting a little like possessive of Ezekiel. And a lot of people were saying like, oh, it's because he likes Ezekiel. He quote unquote likes him, you know, but it's not really that, because even the creator of the visual novel had to come out and say like, ew, they're brothers. It's not like that. But yeah, Silas the bear, and I think even the guy on the right sort of like Ezekiel, or it was just Silas. And Mason was sort of like kind of snapping at them when they were at the library, which was a little weird for Ezekiel. And so it's like, hey dude, like what in the world is wrong with you? And like, yeah, that's more or less what I remember. I believe Jake, also the raccoon, also likes Ezekiel. And the girl that's next to him, because I don't remember her name, sort of spilled the beans to Ezekiel, and Jake's like, what the fuck, dude? Or girl, I mean. Why did you tell him that? So yeah, the whole group is unraveling, so yeah. Well, yeah, I guess it kind of is unraveling. And again, Ezekiel, the hyena, or Zeke, because he doesn't like to be called Ezekiel, doesn't remember anything of what happened like a few years ago too, so like, yeah. Anywho, so that should probably catch you up, I guess, hopefully. Anyway, so without further ado, let us continue Silverstone and see what's up with Mason, because, this is his route. It takes me a while to make out the features of the giant dog in front of me. The streams of light gleaming from behind him makes it even harder. Once my eyes adjust, I can see the blonde fur swirling around the pit bull's body. The stench of wood assaults me as his cologne enters my nostrils. Oh, hey there. You must be Ezekiel. Your mother has told me quite a bit about you. Despite the warm welcome, I feel the annoyance of my younger self peek through. I can't believe that I used to think Dad was a suck-up. Hey darling, could you please close the door? I don't want the cool air to escape. Oops, sorry Claudia. I blink my eyes a few times as the room brightens back up. The pit bull turns back around, looking at me with a dumb grin on his face. Back then, I hated his friendliness. It felt like a facade that he was using, just trying to get on my good side so that he could marry my mom. I watched too many movies, I suppose. Now, however, I can tell his smile is genuine. He really did want to get to know me, not as an obstacle, but as a future son. Ezekiel, it's Zeke. I don't like people calling me Ezekiel. Oops, sorry. Do you know where I can put this? Dad is holding an old cream-colored baking dish, speckled with gray dots. It's covered with tinfoil, but I already know what's inside. Just thinking of Dad's sweet potatoes makes my mouth water. We only had them on special occasions, but I can still remember the marshmallow-covered tubers to this day. Just bring them in here, hun. Oh yeah, I forgot Mom didn't even let me answer him. Probably didn't want me to give Dad too much attitude. Thanks, I'll be there in a second. Hey Zeke, your mom told you that I have a kid too, right? I slowly nod. To be honest, the idea of having a baby brother to take care of was scary. Kind of stupid to think about nowadays. Dad peeks behind him, facing down to the floor. A small hand is gripping onto his thigh, almost in fear. He chuckles a little nervousness behind his laugh. It's okay, Mase. This is Zeke, Claudia's son. A small head pokes out from behind Dad's leg. The smaller dog looks very similar to him, just with black fur instead of blonde. Dad answers before my stupid child self can even ask the obvious question. His mom was a black lab. He mostly got his build from me, but the fur, all his mother's. Dad smiles, but even back when I was a kid, there was a bit of a melancholy behind his words. I didn't push the topic further, instead turning all my attention to Mason. Even back then, he was already wearing salmon-colored clothes. His expression is entirely different from the usual one in present day though. While I was filled with indifference and a bit of anger, Mason was anxious. If anything, I'd say he looked terrified to even be in the house. Hey, do you think that you can hang out for just a second while I give Miss Fisher the food that we made? Mason grips even harder onto Dad's pants, looking at me with utter fear in his eyes. He takes one brief glance back up at Dad. Then let's go, fiddling with his hands and shuffling uncomfortably in the entranceway. I'll be back in a second, okay? Try to get to know Zeke a little bit. We might be coming here more in the future, you know? That didn't help Mason. His eyes widen and he starts to whimper. I can feel my shoulders and expression soften, starting to understand the situation a bit more. Hey bud, I'll be back in a second, okay? Dad always knew how to handle Mason's meltdowns. He never touched him, just bent down to meet him at his eye level. The small dog starts to calm down, though not completely. As Dad starts to head to the kitchen, Mason looks at me. I can tell that he's trying to say something, but isn't able to get anything out. I end up reaching my hand out, though in retrospect that probably wasn't the best idea. He flinches just a tiny bit, looking at my hand before back at me. My expression's probably not the friendliest, but it's definitely better than earlier. At least my brows aren't furrowed. You're Mason, right? The dog takes a moment before nodding and slowly shaking my hand. His shoulders lower and he stops shuffling. He does bite his nails a bit, but it's still an improvement. I'm Zeke. Sorry about all this. I don't really want to be here either. Mason's ears raise and he looks confused. Gee, it's as if grumpy hyena talking to a non-verbal dog isn't a good mixture. Dad comes back and offers his hand to Mason, who takes it as they stroll over to the dining room. Oh, Mr. Haynes? Dad turns back with a smile on his face. I think he was just happy that I was talking to him at all. It's nice to meet you. And Mason. Nice to meet you too, Zeke. You don't need to be so formal with me though. For the first time this night, I smile. Mom always did want me to be proper and well-behaved, and Dad wanting a kid to just be a kid felt like a breath of fresh air. Zeke, wash up. It's time to eat. And now I'm rolling my eyes. Dad chuckles as I enter the hallway restroom. All I could think of was how the food would turn out. Gonna get the smallest slice of turkey, that's for sure. The dry and overseasoned turkey aside, the taste of Mom's green beans and macaroni make me feel nostalgic. Kind of regret not asking for the recipe when I left for college. Of course, Dad's sweet potatoes are divine too. I think Mom was both happy and somewhat jealous that I was shoveling them into my mouth. Mason picks at his food with his fork. He seems fine with the turkey and sweet potatoes, but his face contorts as he looks at the mac and green beans. I remember that I was partially offended at my mom's behalf at the time, but I get it more nowadays. Mom didn't seem to mind anyway. So Zeke, I freeze, my cheeks puffed out because of the sweet potatoes. Mom sighs, placing a hand on her temple, and Dad could only laugh at the scene. What do you like to do for fun? There's not much in Silverstone, right? I swallow my food, almost choking as I do so. Mason looks at me with curiosity, seemingly interested in the topic. I guess when you're from a bigger city, you do have some sort of interest in what smaller towns are like. Well, I typically play soccer and tag with Jake, Kelsey, and Silas. Oh? Are those your friends? Yeah. Well, Jake used to help babysit me with his mom, but now we just hang out since we go to school together. Dad gives me another warm smile. If only he knew the actual reason why Jake's mom stopped babysitting. I also like to collect trading card games, and I play on my Super Ultra. Mason bolts out of his seat, eyes beaming. I lean back in my seat, hearing it creak as my back pushes the backrest. Dad puts his hand on Mason's shoulder. The puppy snaps back to its shy self and sits back down in his chair, though he still fidgets with his fingers. Sorry, it's just that Mason hasn't played a video game before. I've been wanting to get a console for him, but they're just so dang expensive. If only he knew how much consoles cost today. I take another bite of the turkey, though to my dismay I feel myself choke on it as the rosemary hits the back of my younger self's throat. Mason goes back to fiddling with his food, and a thought pops into my head, followed by probably the worst sentence that was said that night. Why is he like that? Mom and Dad look at me with wide eyes. Mason dips his head down as he did something wrong, even though I was the one with the inappropriate and impulsive thought. Dad looks more curious than angry, but Mom is downright furious at what I said. Ezekiel Fisher, apologize now. What? I was just asking a question. I want to know why he's acting. It's okay, Claudia. I get that he doesn't know better. Dad to the rescue. Thank God. If I finish that sentence. Man, I don't even want to think about it replaying in my mind every night for the rest of my life. Well, you should know better, Zeke. I thought that I taught you manners. I'm really sorry, Albert. No, it's fine. People don't know too much about the topic, so this isn't much of a surprise. That's a sad sentence to hear now. Of course my child self was just confused and ignorant about the whole thing. Zeke, have you heard of something called autism? No. Dad chuckled a bit, relaxing his shoulders. You can tell that he's had this conversation multiple times. I remember him having an easier time explaining it to kids, though. Basically, Mason's brain is wired differently than most people's. He sometimes has sensory issues and also has a hard time talking to others. Sensory issues? Oh, it's like he has trouble with some foods and he really hates some noises. Well, what about the talking part? Don't most people have issues talking to new people? God, I wish my past self would just shut the hell up. It's not exactly that he's anxious. He's still able to talk, but he has trouble saying things, even to me. We've tried speech therapy, but the doctors weren't exactly nice to Mason. Dad tries to put on a happy face, but he's definitely forlorn. Mason can't help that he's autistic, but I'd imagine Dad felt a bit sad that his son wasn't talking to him. Thankfully, Dad was very patient, especially compared to Mom. After they married, Mason started to talk more. We don't know what sparked the change, but I remember how happy Dad was. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know that it was like that. Mason gives a small smile. It was a pitiful apology, but I guess children are far more accepting of stuff like that. For the rest of the dinner, it's mostly Dad and Mom talking. Their flirting was definitely a bit, much. But at least they were happy. Mason and I just focus on our food, although I'm the only one who clears his plate, Mason at least attempted to try the mac. It was easy to tell that he hated the texture from a mile away. I wonder how Mason feels about the mac nowadays. He still hated it during the divorce. Guess I'll just have to ask him when I wake up. Mom rinses the plate while Dad brings them over to the dining room. Mason is following Dad around, though he shoots glances at me ever so often. I'm just playing with a rubber ball, trying not to hit any of the lower cabinets. Whenever it does manage to hit them, a loud boom echoes through the room. Eventually, Mom has had enough, gripping the edge of the sink as she holds her anger back. Zeke, why don't you take Mason up to your room? You guys can play something together. I catch the ball, staring at the small dog in the other room. Dad laughs as Mason peers over the table, trying to see the mess that we'd left. Mom, I don't know if... Zeke? He may end up being your brother in the future. So I want you guys to get along, okay? But can you please take him up and try to be friendly? My younger self grimaces, eyes on the floor. I gotta admit my past self could be a bit, snappy. He just had no idea what he was going to do when he brought Mason up there. However, fighting Mom wasn't going to get what I wanted. She always wanted the arguments like this, and if Dad heard us fighting, well... Mr. Hames. Dad stops as he walks back into the kitchen with Mason bumping into him as he stops. The puppy catches himself though, thankfully not falling back onto the hardwood. Is it okay if Mason and I go upstairs? My voice trails off at the end, rising with hesitance. Dad looks at Mom as if he knows that she suggested it. He smiles at me before tapping Mason on the shoulder. Are you okay with going up with Zeke to his room, bud? Mason jolts, looking back and forth between the two of us. You don't have to if you don't want to. Although Dad gives him the option to stay downstairs, Mason slowly walks over to me with his head bowed down. Just come back down if you want to stay with me, okay? I almost grab Mason's hand before the talk at dinner echoes in my head. Mason follows as I lead the way up to my room. Letting Mason go in first when we arrive upstairs was the least that I could do to be polite. His shoulders rise as the door creaks closed, but they go back down once it clicks shut. Now that I'm not focused on throwing a tantrum over the visit, I am able to get a better look at my old room. There's posters above my bed, mostly of baseball players and sci-fi shows. My dresser has a large assortment of action figures, most of which are posed like scenes from comic books. Damn, I was a nerd even back then. Mason takes a quick look around before pointing at the toy box. I open it up to see an unorganized mess of dinosaur figures, building blocks, and some toy guns. There's not much in there that we can play with indoors, but Mason picks up one of the toy guns, swinging it around blindly, and then the end of it stops directly in front of my face. Especially not that. I violently yank the gun out of Mason's hand and throw it back into the chest. Mason might be younger, but I thought that he would have known not to aim a gun at someone like that. You can't just point a gun at someone's face. Mason's expression is a bit taken aback, becoming a bit downtrodden. I feel a bit bad, but that was a lesson that he had to learn anyway. The dog takes another look around the room before finding my television. The Super Ultra catches his eye, and he lets out a small squeal of delight. He gives me a puppy dog eyes, and it looks like he's shaking with excitement now that he's found the video games. I giggle a little as I walk over to the console. I only got single-player games. Is that okay? Mason doesn't seem to mind at all, nodding as he sits on the floor. He reaches to turn the console on before backing off, seemingly self-policing his behavior. I turn the TV on, making sure to switch the channel to 3 before flipping the console on. The screen turns from blue to black as a red Ultra Saga logo pops up on the television. Mason is engrossed as Soul Whip pops up on the screen, and the fast-paced music kicks in. After unwrapping the wire around the control, I hand it over to the dog. His trance breaks as he looks at the controller, then back to me. For lack of a better term, he looks like a lost puppy. Do you want to play? Mason gasps before shaking his head and pushing the controller into my chest, my eyebrows cocked, perplexed at the small dog. You're just gonna watch me play? You don't want to give it a shot? The dog smiles and nods with enthusiasm. All young me can do is let out a defeated exhale. Okay, but someday I'm gonna get a multiplayer game and make you play with me. Mason giggles, unaware that I only have the one controller at the moment. Jake would usually bring whatever games that he could afford along with his own controller. Choosing the King's Ultimate Exploration game mode, I make my way through the giant labyrinth of a dungeon ahead. I had played it multiple times before, but rarely with an audience. I lose Soul Whip's abilities multiple times, stress under the pressure I suppose. Mason lets out a small yelp whenever the character gets hurt, so I start to be extra careful. Mason's body relaxes as we hang out more. I guess I hadn't noticed how tense he had been when he entered the room. I had been pretty self-absorbed that night, I guess. But being fair, I'd call it one of the many faults of youth. Soon the television is all that illuminates the room, with the last of the sunset's rays dimming as the walls become dressed in dark blue. I hear Mason's yawn next to me as I start to mess up more, my coordination fading as I start to get tired myself. Hey, Mason? The dog turns to me, eyes still closed as his head leans on his beanbag. I pause the game and the music that filled the room cuts out, the only noise being the frogs outside. Yeah? My eyebrows shoot up. I remember wondering if he only spoke because he was tired or if it was something else. Rubbing my eyes, I try stopping a yawn as I talk to him. I'm sorry that I was a jerk earlier. Mason's eyes peek open slowly. He looks up at me with a faint smile before tapping my shoulder. It's okay. And just like that, the little dog falls asleep. I readjust him back onto the beanbag and get up to turn the console off. Did the room just become brighter for a second? And was that a light switch? Again, yet Mason's still asleep. Oh, right. This is a dream. I rub my eyes as I sit up in the bed. Already coming back to the present, Mason is sitting on his bed and Jake has pulled the covers over his face. Wrestling against my grogginess, I grab my phone and check the time. 1:21 a.m. I throw my covers off and swing my legs off the bed, reaching for my suitcase to get my anxiety medication. The lights go out, so that's why my dream was like that. Once my eyes readjust, I look over at Mason. He's still sitting on the bed, not even reacting to my presence. He's looking around the room as if there's something here that I can't see. I feel chills go up my spine as I watch him. It's kind of creepy. Once I find my pill bottles in the darkness, I feel my way around and grab one of the pills inside, using my saliva to swallow it. It almost goes down the wrong pipe. Let there be light. I'm about to ask Mason what in the hell he's doing when... Fucking... Jake disgruntled throws the covers off, letting out an exasperated groan. Mason! I try to look away as Jake stands up. He's only in his shorts, and I can feel my face heat up. I take this opportunity to change into something more suitable for bed. What the hell are you doing? We're trying to fucking sleep here. Mason looks like he's snapped out of the spell, blinking rapidly as Jake yells at him. He's still looking around the room, though it's more like he's refamiliarizing himself with his surroundings. Sorry, Mason gulps, loud enough for me to hear it by the window. He stammers a bit before getting his sentence out. You two didn't hear that? The clicking noise? Yeah, I heard clicking. Mason smiles with relief for a second before Jake bursts out in frustration again. The raccoon clutches his head dramatically. Not that I can blame him after today. The clicking of a goddamn light switch. No, it was more like a rapid clicking, like something mechanical, you know? Please, Zeke, you heard it, right? The dog looks strangely desperate, as if he thinks he's going insane. By now my body and eyes have adjusted to the bright room, and I'm wide awake. No, Mason, I didn't hear anything. Mason stares at the floor, the color in his eyes fading as he stares into nothingness. Jake's expression softens and his arms fall to his sides. Oh. I see. Jake looks over to me before rubbing the big dog's back. I can tell that he's trying to comfort him, but it has to be the most awkward back rub that I've ever seen. Let's just go back to sleep, okay? It's probably just stress, man. Yeah, that has to be it. Mason sniffs loudly before tucking his legs back under the sheets, the vacant look never leaving his face. Once Jake and I are back in our beds, Mason flicks the light switch off one last time. All I can hope is that my meds will help me fall asleep. Two fucking hours later and I still can't sleep. I feel like I drank 4 energy drinks and I'm not calming down anytime soon. Not to mention my head is throbbing and the air in the room feels cold, yet it smells stagnant. I'm gonna have to stay up longer today to get my damn sleep schedule back on track. Desperate for some fresh air, I fling the sheets off of me and grab my phone and keys. Only now do I realize just how clammy I am under my fur. My phone's light briefly flashes over to Mason and Jake. The beams hit the dog in the face, but thankfully he seems like he's deep in sleep. I tiptoe as fast as I can over to the door and exit the room, hoping neither of them wake up from the light outside. The first thing that I do when I seat myself outside is check the internet on my phone. Sure enough, the manager wasn't lying about the service, although that doesn't make me feel better. The motel internet wasn't good by any means. It took at least 45 seconds for a web page to load on Kelsey's laptop, but at least we could communicate through text. All of the messages that I was supposed to receive by now are perpetually loading. Of course, Mason sent me some text. I can't wait to read those. However, one text in particular catches my eye. Kelsey? Hey. I jolt and my head hits the motel wall when the cheetah makes herself known. I cling the back of it, but Kelsey takes my hand off to look at it. Oh shit, I'm sorry. I'll be right back. My eyes follow Kelsey as she rounds the corner to the vending machine. It isn't long before I hear a loud thunk, and she races back with a bottle of lemon lime soda. Here, put this on the back of your head. I take the soda from her and do as she said. A wince escapes me as I feel the sting from the ice-cold bottle for a moment before it passes. Kelsey sits down next to me, wrapping her arms around her legs while letting out a deep sigh. Couldn't sleep? I chuckle, bobbing my head back on the soda for a second. More like I did sleep, but then Mason woke me and Jake up a couple of hours ago. Kelsey seems to tense up at the mention of Mason, probably because of the incident at the bar. Oh, was it something wrong? Not really. He just thought that he heard something in the room. I see. I wait for Kelsey to continue, but an awkward silence fills the space. Even the wind coming in from the town is eerily quiet. Kelsey closes her eyes and buries her head in her legs. Her tail, which had been flowing through the air as we sat there, falls to the ground. She looks up at me. The stoicism that she usually dons has disappeared from her face. Her frown is quivering, and now that I have a closer look, I can see her eyes are red. Hey, so... about today. We were actually wondering where you were. Mason and I walked through, the entire town and neither of us found you. Kelsey takes a moment to gather her thoughts, lifting her head up. She rests her chin on her knees as she blows air back into the breeze. I'm sorry about what happened at the bar. Jake had been... I mean, well, you've probably figured it out by now. He really likes you, Zeke, but I don't know. I guess the text just felt inappropriate, and I know how you are about sex, so I might have been a bit overprotective in all the wrong ways too. She chuckles, though it's more at herself than the situation. I don't think that I've seen Kelsey this apologetic before. I mean, she said sorry before and all that, but she would never dive into the situation herself. And Jake and I are just... our personalities are really different, you know? Maybe his texts were completely innocent, and I just am overreacting. I place a hand on Kelsey's shoulder. She looks at me and I give her a grin. Although the situation is weird. Thanks for protecting me, Kels. But, and part of being a person is getting hurt. Even then, moving on with that hurt and healing from it is part of it. Would I prefer not to be hurt? Of course, but the fight at the bar was probably way worse than what would have happened if you two had just talked it out. I don't want you to see me as this spineless kid that needs protecting. I just want you to see me as Zeke. Tears form in Kelsey's eyes, and she lets out a pitiful laugh. She leans into my shoulder, wiping her eyes as to not stain my shirt. The once awkward silence now feels comforting, somewhat peaceful even. If I hadn't slept earlier, I could probably fall back into dreamland here. Jake and I talked it out. By the way, it was a screaming match at first, but we're too young to let shit like that stew in our brains. I can feel Kelsey looking up at me, though I don't look back, not really in the mood of injuring someone by whipping my muzzle into them. We were thinking about making it up to you and Mason. Yeah? You remember the old arcade, right? It's still open, so... I don't know, maybe the four of us could go down there in the morning? And June and Silas? Once I mentioned Mason, the two of them clammed up. Did something happen earlier, Zeke? Kelsey pulls away, looking directly at me with concern in her eyes. Revisiting everything that happened yesterday would take too much energy that I already don't have. Let's just say that Mason wasn't exactly his usual self after the bar fight. Oh. Shit. I hope she doesn't pin the blame on herself. I rub her shoulder before standing back up. It's been long enough that I should probably try sleeping again. It's not your fault, okay? I'll talk to Mason in the morning and see if he's up for going to the arcade. Kelsey smiles, giving me a hug before returning to her motel room. She looks exhausted, but the whole conversation must have lifted a huge weight off her chest. All I can hope for is that today goes smoother than yesterday. My bones let out cracks as I stretch. I managed to get a couple of more hours of sleep last night, although the position that I was in wasn't exactly comfortable. Jake has already left, but he left me a microwavable yakisoba meal with a note. His handwriting isn't the best, but I can at least make out what it says. Sorry about yesterday, you two. Kelsey and I talked through things, and we're good now. Let's have some fun today. The little heart makes me feel confused. If I had to guess, it was probably aimed at me. I decide to ignore it and heat up the yakisoba. It's not exactly a good breakfast meal, but at least it's something. I assume that he left something for Mason as well, but I can't ask him that since he's on his morning run right now. Come to think of it, this is the first time that I'm alone in here without being sick or pissed off. I take the yakisoba out of the microwave and turn on the television. With how early it is, everything on right now is shows for preschoolers. Still, it gives me a bit of nostalgia seeing the old cartoons on screen, even if the signal decides to be an asshole every now and then. The yakisoba is sickeningly sweet. I kind of wish that I had some soy sauce or something to offset it. It doesn't help that it's gotten cold pretty quick. I start to move over to the window to see if eating by the sun will warm it up somewhat, but I see a familiar dog panting by the parking lot outside. Hoping the sun will help, I set the yakisoba on the table before grabbing my things and heading over to Mason. Mason is braced against his knees, bending over as he takes deep breaths. I run over, already roasting from the sun beating down on me, and yell, "Hey Mason!" The dog puts a finger up as he takes even bigger breaths, slowly straightening his back as air fills his lungs. He eventually lets out a really deep exhale as he uses his arm to wipe sweat off his forehead. "Sorry, just finished my run. Man, that trail is a lot longer than it looks." So it's not just me. It really was a weirdly long forest trail. "Wait, you ran to the town and back?" "I mean, I didn't think that it would take so long. I thought that I'd be hopping out of the shower by now." I give a half-hearted chuckle. As Mason regains his composure, he clears his throat before clapping his hands together. He rocks back and forth, whistling before pointing at my pocket. "Did you get my text?" "Huh? Oh. No, the internet here is going to be down for a bit. They've been loading on the app for hours now." "Oh, I see." His voice trails off during that last part. A car zips by, heading out of Silverstone. It even honks its horn like it in the movies. Mason scratches the back of his head, exhaling through his nose. He drops his arm, his stature becoming hunched over as he rubs his hands together. "Listen, I just..." The big dog braces for the conversation that's about to happen. He shrinks in, as if he's scared for whatever fate lies ahead. "I'm sorry, okay? I don't know why, but it's like my brain has been running 1,000,000 miles a minute recently. We haven't seen each other for a bit, and I just wanted to hang out with you." "Mason, the problem is that it's not just the two of us. The way that you spoke to Jake and especially poor Silas yesterday just wasn't okay." I know, but..." No buts. If you have to put a but in your apology, then you're not actually sorry for what you did." Mason looks like he's about to break down. I would be lying if I said that I didn't feel sorry for him, but he can't just wave his problems away as mental issues. "Okay, look. Today, let's just do something fun. No libraries, no bars, just fun." "I guess we could do that." "Did you talk with Kelsey and Jake last night?" Mason's scowl from yesterday returns, and he turns from me. He reaches into his arms, folding them over like the flaps of a carry-out container. "I didn't see Kelsey after the fight, and I tried to avoid Jake as best as I could." "Well, they actually talked about things and made up. Kinda wish that they did that from the beginning, but hindsight is 20/20. Anyway, they invited us out to the arcade in a couple of hours. We haven't been there in years, so maybe that'll be a good way to break out of this funk." I remember Jake used to drag us there after school at the end of the month. He would save up any quarters that he could find, and we would play Steel Vice for hours. It might be a good way for Mason to de-stress. The dog chuckles, though it comes off more as a scoff. I guess he needs to see it to believe it. "Do we have to hang out with them? Can't we just do something else? There's other photo spots that we could go to. Mason, I don't want to take any more pictures. We've barely done anything in the actual town, especially as a group, and playing games sounds great." "Well, are June and Silas coming too?" I can feel my complexion pale as he asks that question. His eyelids lower and he shakes his head, looking to the road as if he's about to go on a drive to clear his head. There is no way in hell that I'm going to mention that June and Silas aren't exactly thrilled with his demeanor. To be honest, if I had to choose a side to be on, it would probably be theirs. "Look, I know yesterday was a shit show." That's an understatement. I breathe in deep so I don't lash out. I've never done well with being interrupted, and the attitude isn't helping. "Just... the two want to apologize. They want to make it up to us. Can't you just give them a chance, Mason?" The dog's nostrils are flared, but he seems less angry and more annoyed, I guess. I know things haven't gone as smooth as they could have, but we should at least end on a high note. Mason drops his arms, heading over to the motel room. He wipes more sweat off of his brow while reaching for his keys. I'll give them one more chance. If anything goes wrong. He lets the sentence linger as he enters the room, closing the door behind him. It feels as if something is lodged in my throat as a pit forms on my stomach. I don't get it. Things are resolved, so why is hanging out with the two such an issue for him? I wonder if I was a bit harsh though. Especially after last night. I'd imagine he's a bit sleep deprived. I'm curious what he meant by the mechanical clicking though. As far as I know, the room was quiet the entire time. Maybe his hearing is just more sensitive? I remember him being a lot more perceptive than the rest of us to do things like that. I shake myself out of my stupor, slapping my cheeks. There is still a couple of hours left, and I need to wait for Mason to finish his shower, so now might be the best time to check on June and Silas. After yesterday, I feel like I owe them an apology, especially Silas. I remember seeing the bear head for the trail earlier, but I haven't seen June yet. Maybe he's in his room? And let's check for Silas. To be honest, if anyone is owed an apology first, it's Silas. The thought makes it even harder to think of words to say as I walk up to the trail. Also, June was more aggressive towards Mason at the library than the bear was. I have utterly no idea what his reaction will be. After a deep breath, I find myself back under the trees as I look for the bear. I think back to yesterday as I head up the trail. The memory of that odd man yelling at me fills me with a bit of anxiety as I walk through the dirt. After I've talked to Silas, if I find him here again, I'm not using this fucking trail anymore. I'll make Mason... Actually, maybe Kelsey drives me around. Just gotta avoid the tourist traps. A sigh of relief escapes me as I see the bear walking back to the motel. It looks like he had been taking some pictures since I see him stuff his camera into his bag. He doesn't hesitate to wave at me as I run up to him, although it's a bit weak. As I get closer, I can see the bear's faking a smile too. He always has been terrible at acting. Hey, Zeke. I think about giving the big guy a hug, but realize that might be a bit inappropriate after everything that happened. I opt for a pat on the arm instead. Even that is enough to get Silas's ears to turn bright red, though. Hey, are you doing okay? Yeah, I'm fine. Why wouldn't I be? Do I really have to spell it out? Silas lets out a deep sigh and drops the act. His depressed look makes me want to hug him even more. He listlessly picks at the zipper of his bag, and if I had to guess, the poor guy is trying to ground himself. Can't really blame him. Listen, just, forget what I said yesterday, alright? No? The bear looks even further away from me, almost to the point of contorting his torso. I lean over to try to look at him, but give in once he shuffles in a half circle in it with his feet. Why not? It's not like I was saying anything important. So you weren't asking me on a date? The bear stops playing with the zipper. Only now do I realize how hunched over he's been as he strains his back. He's still looking away, but his body is at least facing me now. Well, I might have been, but... I don't know. Would you really want to be with someone like me? I'm big, and I look intimidating, but I don't think that I could protect you or do enough for you. Well, I might, but just the sight of a gun makes me freeze. Sorry, I'm rambling a bit. You're fine, Silas. You don't have anything to apologize for. If it helps, you were the first one to ask me out. Well, properly, I guess. The bear's attention is now fully on me. At first, I think it's because my joke might have been too insensitive, but his expression says something else. Let's just say that a little raccoon also wants to date me. For some reason. Shut up. The bear quickly covers his mouth, realizing how loud he just shouted. It's strange to hear Silas yell like that. Did he... Well, did he confess to you? I mean, not directly. But he made it kind of blatant. He even left a heart on a note this morning. Oh, The bear's ears fall as his eyes turn to the ground. Fuck me on my big mouth. So I guess you're gonna date him? Wait, what? Silas, I didn't say that. I don't even know what to do at the moment. I just came to apologize for Mason's behavior. It's okay. It'll be fine. You're not acting like it. Listen, we're going to the arcade later. Do you want to come with us and maybe just hang out for a bit? Will Jake be there? I keep my mouth shut, but Silas seems to already know the answer as he turns away. I didn't mean to shoot the guy's confidence down. And now there's this weird ache in my chest. I didn't see any jealousy in the bear's eyes, but his self-esteem seems to be lowering by the second. Will Mason be there? The bear's embittered tone throws me off. I can't blame him. I just never expected to hear Silas sound this scornful. He sighs, turning back towards Silverstone as I try to get a word out. Damn it, any word will do, but nothing comes to mind that could fix this situation. I think I'm just gonna hang out at the motel later today. I'm not feeling well. Silas, have fun at the arcade, Zeke. I watch as the bear walks up the trail, trying to think of something to yell at him, but again nothing comes to mind. Fuck! I stare at the ground and try to think of a way that I could have done that differently. I even think of sprinting after Silas, but I think that I already blew my chance with him. I don't even get to apologize for Mason's stupid behavior. With a heavy sigh, I turn back to the motel and hope that tonight things will be better with Silas. Why am I such an idiot? I only now realize how little I know my friends. Mentioning Jake having a crush on me was a fucking stupid idea. Christ. Well, there will still be a little bit of time left, so maybe I'll be able to apologize to June. I kinda don't want to wait until tonight to talk to him anyway. After a few deep breaths to stabilize myself, I make my way over to the other's motel room. Oh, Zeke. Not that it isn't nice to see you, but what are you doing here? It's not time to go yet. Hey, Kels. I just want to talk to June for a minute or two. Is it okay if I come in? The cheetah perks up, swinging the door open and gesturing me with her arm outstretched. Of course. Come right in. Despite the room being the exact same layout as the one of Mason and Jake and I are staying in, it feels like that I've stepped into a strange land. Compared to our room, everything is neat and organized, no clothes strewn across the beds and floors, and no garbage littering the tables and dressers. I really need to work on my cleanliness. Although, if I put some real thought into it, Mason and Jake are the real offenders when it comes to that. June is sitting in a chair watching the news, their TV just as reliable as ours. I don't know how June can stand listening to that staticky voice. The news anchor is droning on and on about how today is the 15th anniversary of the Exodus. I'm stunned for a moment, trying to process that information. It really has been that long, hasn't it? Kelsey seems to sense my discomfort as she mutes the television. June is about to get upset at her, but he finally notices my presence. Oh, Zeke. What are you... Why are you in our room? What a warm welcome. I sit down across from him and Kelsey opens a small snack, sitting on the bed as she chews chunks of sausage and cheese. It's only somewhat distracting. Hey, remember yesterday, the incident at the library? Unfortunately, I wince internally. Not a great start to this conversation. Well, I just wanted to apologize for what happened. It was unfair to you and Silas. I'm sorry. June cocks an eyebrow, and he stands up. He plants his hands on the table and is now towering over me. I can see the anger boil inside of him as his shadow stretches across the room. Pathetic. What? Zeke, why are you the one apologizing? Were you the one antagonizing Silas? Were you the one being a dick to me? Don't take responsibility for your brother's actions. Tell him to stop being an asshat and apologize himself. I mean, you're right, but don't, Zeke. You couldn't have known that he would have acted like that. Don't you feel angry about what he did yesterday? I stand up trying not to hit muzzles with June as I do. Anger starts to boil inside of me because of both Mason's idiocy and June's attitude. June, please, I'm not in the mood for this. Not in the mood for what? All you're doing right now is being the idiot's meat shield. Aren't you upset about the way that he treated Silas yesterday? Or how he's treated you? Like a toddler? Although June had been somewhat prickly this trip, I never expected him to explode like an atom bomb. I guess all the tension from yesterday replaces anxiety with hostility. My fur bristles as images of Mason's smiling flash through my head. It's as if they were pushing their way to the front of my mind so that he's the only thing there. For a moment, I even forget about his outbursts, only able to concentrate on the good side of him. June's shocked face at the sight of my fangs is what manages to break me out of my daze. Of course I'm upset at him. I don't want to apologize. Then why are you? You're not spineless, so stop acting like it. I can't help it, okay? I know it's not my fucking fault, June. I'm not in control of his emotions. But whether I've known him for a couple of years or all of my life, he's my brother, god damn it. I feel like Silence lingers as I wait for the badger's response. The rage that I was feeling morphs into anxiety as I feel the two eyes pinned on me. As if I've come up from under the water, I start to hear how ragged my breath is. I didn't think that I was yelling that much, but I guess that proves otherwise. I think that you should go outside for a bit, Zeke. So I guess we won't be seeing you at the arcade. Although I'm sad about June spending his day without us, my tone came out a bit snappy. The badger sits back down in his chair, rubbing his forehead. Can you unmute the TV, Kelsey? We stay like this for a moment before Kelsey rubs my shoulder to reassure me. Once the reporter's garbled voice comes back, I open the door. I swear that I could see June looking back at me as I leave the room. As the door closes, I lean my head against the motel wall. I know wallowing in my self-pity won't change anything, but I would like to think that it will make me feel better. It doesn't. Of course. What's even the time right now? There is still a good bit of time left until we have to go, so I guess that I could go to my room and watch TV. After that conversation, I'm not in any mood to talk to Mason. I can only reluctantly go back to my room. I just hope things will smooth out by the time that we go to the arcade. I regret giving Kelsey the front seat. Despite me being bigger, I wanted to be polite and let her have the more spacious option. Now my arms are squished into my chest and my legs are contorted around Jake's. I have to ask him to help me put my seatbelt on. With what little space there is, I can barely breathe. It doesn't help that Mason is constantly tapping the steering wheel and no one is talking. Kelsey and Jake did try to start up a conversation earlier, but Mason's curt responses shut them down. Maybe some of that tension will go away once he gets a few games in. At least, I hope so. Every now and then, Mason's ears pop up, and he looks around the car. After he's done, he lets out a deep groan, but then asserts he's fine. As we enter the town, I see a few families get into their cars, some even hurrying their kids into their seats. They all stare at us like we're lunatics. I guess the anniversary of the Exodus is getting to everyone. Hopefully someone will tell me why. The arcade looks well kept compared to many of the other places around here. I would even say that it looks like it did back in the day, but a lot of the machines are new. Kelsey goes to get us some cards to use for the games, while Jake browses through what few old machines there are. I imagine that he's looking for Steel Vice, since we used to play it all the time. Mason taps his foot as he stands next to me, scratching his arm like bugs are all over him. I pat his shoulder and he looks at me with a grumpy expression still on his face. Listen, just try to have fun, okay? They really do seem sorry. Let's just enjoy ourselves. I'll try. Also, are you okay? You seem on edge since we got into the car. Never better. I'm about to call the dog out on his poor attempt at sarcasm, but then Kelsey and Jake return to us. The cheetah gives us our cards while Jake is bouncing with excitement. I put $50 on each of these cards, so feel free to play as much or as little as you want. Jake stops bouncing, staring at his card, when Kelsey gives it to him. He gulps, a bit of guilt dressing his face. $50? Kelsey, that's a lot of money. I kind of feel bad. Don't worry about it, Jake. Seriously, I'm more than happy to give these to you. I'm more on Jake's side here than Kelsey's. I don't think that I've ever held an arcade card with 50 whole bucks on it. I imagine that there's a huge dent in her wallet right now. Jake puts on a smile, although I can tell that he's still a bit uncomfortable with the whole thing. He looks over at Mason and me before shuffling on his feet. Well, before we begin with the newer stuff, I saw Steel Vice is still here. Well, Steel Vice 3. I was thinking that we could play a couple of rounds, maybe even some team battles. Yeah, I'd be down with that. It's been a while since I've played though. I'm probably a bit rusty. Well, you're looking at the Minnesotan state champion here. Somehow I severely doubt that. I can play a couple of rounds, but I'll probably need an expert to help me on my team. The last time that I played video games was... Actually, when was the last time that I played a video game? Jake chuckles before putting his hand on Kelsey's shoulder. He smiles a bit as he looks at Mason and I, a fang poking out as he points at the two of us. I guess it's settled then. I'll be on Kelsey's team and you two are together. Does that work out? I see Mason's shoulders relax as he hears that. His whole body looks less stiff now. I know he had been worked up, but certainly not to that degree. At least, his smile is back, even if it's just a small one. I prefer Happy Mason over Angry Mason any other day. Yeah, that sounds good. I still play occasionally, so I'd actually say that it's an even match. Have you gotten any better since we were kids? Yes, Hey, wait! The rest of us chuckle at Mason's pouting face. Unlike the past day, his anger is obviously more playful and less antagonistic. Come on, let's go to the machine. Jake inserts a few quarters into the machine and it blares the startup music. The machine didn't accept the cards due to its age, so we had to fish in our pockets for spare change. I grab the control stick and rest my fingers on the buttons. Mason gives me 2 thumbs up as Kelsey jokingly rubs Jake's shoulders like a wrestling coach. It takes me a bit to scroll through the characters, but Jake instantly finds his. Kuro Kisaragi, a Black Panther dressed in shinobi attire. We cringe at the vaguely racist voice acting for him. I decide to go with Chim, a lion with the head of an Eastern dragon. Despite not playing my best as him, he's who I would always play as back when I was a kid. You can do it, Zeke! I chuckle at that as Jake presses start. The game selects probably our least favorite stage, the Amazonian Temple. The timer counts down, and before I can even tilt my controller stick to the left, Jake already has Kuro dashing towards Chim. I forgot Kuro's main strength is his speed. Chim takes hit after hit, his HP slowly whittling down as the voice lines cut each other off. I tilt the stick back, finally getting the big lug to block the attacks. Once I'm far enough away, I am able to pull off a combo on Kuro. The one thing that I do remember is that despite his sluggishness, Chim's attacks are powerful. Gah! Jake cries out as Kuro is sent flying across the stage before hitting his face against the invisible wall. His HP drops a drastic amount, almost the same amount Jake had already done to me. I move in to attack the Panther again, readying up a sweeping kick. However, before I can execute it, Jake manages to get Kuro to sidestep out of the way. Come on, come on, come on, come on! Mason yelling in my ear isn't exactly helping. If anything, it's taking my focus away from the game. Jake launches another onslaught of attacks against my character. But this time, I forgot to block. Chim falls on his back when Jake delivers a final blow, a shadow uppercut. Fuck yeah, I was a little worried there. I lean away from the machine, letting out a breath that I was holding. Jake has a sly grin on his face and he seems much more relaxed. Fucker barely broke a sweat. Quick, we have to switch. Kelsey manages to push the raccoon back. But I have to run out of the way so Mason can take my place. Jake and I watch from a distance as the second round begins. One thing quickly becomes clear. Kelsey isn't very good as Kuro. I don't remember her being a bad player at all. If anything, she was better than me. It's just that, you can tell that she's never played as a ninja. Mason, on the other hand, seems to be having a better time as Chim. He always did the little brother thing of picking what I would pick, doing what I would do, and eating what I got. He fumbles with the buttons a little, but he's got a better grip of the game than Kelsey does. I realize that I much prefer playing over watching, though. I think Jake feels the same way since he's doing a little dance next to me. I start to zone out of watching the game before the raccoon playfully elbows my side. Hey, did you get the note this morning? Huh? Oh, the breakfast note with the heart on it? Jake can't help but smile when I mention that. Fuck, now that I know, his tells are so obvious. I guess it's cute seeing this punk get all bubbly though. I'm really sorry about that. Oh, well, everything. I probably should have just gone straight to you in the first place. Would have avoided all that shit. I know you're probably not interested in anything right now, but I'd still like to be friends once the trip is over and all. What? Of course. I wasn't going to drop being your friend or anything, Jake. Well, you never know. I could turn out to be a weirdo. I laugh at his joke, but try to keep my volume low so that I don't distract too. Mason's ears pop up, but I can't tell whether it's me or whatever was bothering him before. I jump as my phone buzzes in my pocket. Somehow I feel like I'll never get used to the vibrate setting. It's Silas. But wait, holy shit, there's actually bars here? Well, barely any bars. It's struggling to even stay at 2, let alone to try to get to 3. I decide not to waste any time and answer back while I have some semblance of a signal. Zeke? Zeke, you there? That dude's son fixed the internet, so... Hey Silas, sorry, I was talking with Jake. Oh. Are things going good with you two? We're still friends, so yeah. Most of the tension seems to have died down. Mason is still a bit on edge, though. That's good. So, I wanted to apologize for the storming off this morning. And I guess for being jealous. I mean, the jealousy part is kind of my fault. I somehow thought mentioning you being the first would help, but that was a mistake. And it's fine, don't worry about it. You sure? 100%. Okay, well, June and I plan to get some food tonight. Do you want to maybe hang out then? I'll think about it. Things with June didn't exactly go according to plan either. Want me to talk with him? No, just let him cool off. I'll text you later when I decide. Okay, Zeke. Have fun at the arcade. I make sure to turn my phone to silent before I shove it back in my pocket. Thank God this place has internet because if it didn't, those texts would have been buried. You alright? I guess I'm doing a poor job of hiding my depression. I can feel my smile becoming crooked as I rub the back of my neck. Kinda. I mean, Silas texted me. Is something up with him? Let's just say this morning was a bit rough. Thankfully, Jake doesn't press further, but patting my back as Kelsey lets out a loud groan. From the looks of it, Mason is a bit above her skill level. I guess it's our turn again. Yeah, I could go another round for sure. After a few more rounds of Steel Vice, Kelsey drags us over to the newer machines. If I had dropped $200 on my friends for video games, I'd probably do the same. I check my phone as we approach the air hockey table. The internet is still there, but now it's blinking between 1 and no bars. I guess the arcade is poaching from the place next door. Kelsey approaches the table, swiping her card to start the game. I jump as the puck makes a loud clunk when it spits out from the machine. Let's switch up teams for this one. After this one, we can switch again so that everyone will have been on the team with each other. I'd be down for that. What were we thinking for this one? I was thinking that I could be with Mason and you could be on team with Jake. You just want to be on a team with a big guy, don't you? So that he can save your ass when we start winning. You and Zeke both have 2 left feet. I don't think that you'll even score a single goal. Now those are fighting words. Come on, Zeke. I'll go first. As Kelsey and Jake dash into position, I cannot but notice Mason rubbing his temples. He looks a bit irritated during the conversation, but I guess he's just having some issues with the sound here. Hey, you need to sit outside for a second? I forgot how loud that it could get in here. I'm fine. Mason shoots his hands into his pockets. Though his stern expression remains, he bumps into me as he walks past, his stride unsteady. Hang on. Let me go get you some water or some... I'm fine, Zeke. Seriously. Mason takes the mallet from Kelsey's hand. When he reaches the table, Jake watches the puck hit the table from side to side, almost like he's in a trance. I walk up next to him, and the raccoon, like the goof he is sticking his ass out and waving his tail around playfully. He lets out a snicker as I bat the tail down, standing behind him as he dives for the puck. You want to go up against Mason? To be honest, it might be better if he's not playing against me. He's pouting again. Jake giggles, though a tinge of anxiety comes through his voice. Not that I can blame the guy. Mason did throw him yesterday. He's still just as attached to you as the first time that I took you guys here. Just a lot, taller. Hey, no one's ever gotten hurt playing air hockey. You'll be fine. I want you to fact check that right now. Har har. Come on, let's go. Jake turns to the table, puck in hand. He sticks his right leg back, tail flicking in my face as he prepares to serve. Mason's face is stone cold, his eyes intensely following the puck. I'm not sure if he even realizes that his mallet is hovering above the table. I look over Jake's hand that's holding his mallet and notice a rookie mistake. Hey, make sure to put your fingers back a bit. Jake stops and looks over at me. Once he notices his grip, he readjusts it, making sure his fingers are behind the plastic. Thanks, partner. Mason's ears flick and I can see that he's getting a bit impatient. Jake finally lays the puck down, readies his shot and... In one swift strike, the puck disappears into the goal. Mason steps back, almost as if he was in a daze. To be fair, with how fast it went, I could barely see it skate across the table. Once the dog realizes where the puck went, he pulls it out and gives both it and his mallet to Kelsey. Jake swivels around, tossing the mallet at me. The raccoon giggles as I struggle to catch the thing. I decide to just close my arms into my chest to grab it, ignoring how stupid I probably look. Nice catch. Oh, shut it. Hey, I'm just being a little silly. Is that a crime? It is now. It really is a struggle to fight his flirting. No matter how adorable he's being, I'd rather wait until after the trip is over to choose between him and Silas. It wouldn't be fair to them if I chose right now. Hey, come on, let's play. I finally get a good grip of the mallet and walk up to the table, this time flicking my own tail into Jake's face. Thank God he's short or else that wouldn't have worked. Jake immediately flails as some of my fur enters his mouth, an equally unpleasant experience for me since I now have his spit on my tail. Okay, I'll cool it with waving my tail. That sucked. Kelsey surprises me with her serve, though I managed to block the puck just in time. My fingers tinge from the impact, and the puck slowly slides back to their side. She strikes again. Although she reins in her strength a bit, I actually hit the puck back this time, though it bounces against the walls back to me. I correct my course, hitting it towards the goal. I don't have as much luck as Jake did, with Kelsey blocking it easily. As she winds up another hit, my head suddenly feels like it's about to split wide open. It's as if something is digging into my brain, clawing its way in and worming all around inside it. Red light shines through the arcade's entrance. The machine's walls and floor are bathed in it as the carpet begins to swirl into itself. Just like my dream. It's boiling in here. The arcade and everyone inside it looks like they're melting. Kelsey and Jake's faces look like they're about to fall off. I try to look away when bone appears on Jake's muzzle. Am I going nuts? What the fuck is happening? I look away and notice that behind Kelsey, Mason looks normal. Like he's just standing there with his arms crossed. His eyes are dilated, as if he's spacing out. Mason? The dog turns his head towards me, as if automated, like it's on a track. Now that he's staring at me, I feel a sense of emptiness fill my soul. This is only a husk of my brother. Mason, or whatever this thing is, opens its mouth, and I attempt to make out what he's saying. The screeching and buzzing coming from him makes my head ache even more. Please, if there is a God out there, make it stop. Make it stop, make it stop, make it stop, make it stop. The buzzer rings out and everything is back to normal, but my fur is drenched with sweat and I'm holding onto the mallet for dear life. I'm gonna throw up. Mason starts to run over, but then I feel another hand on my shoulder. I jump, throwing the mallet onto the table as I'm shocked out of my rigid trance. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hey, you okay? What? Wait, what just happened? Dude, you scared us. You just froze up and you were making these weird croaking noises. Kelsey, there was a reception over at Steel Vice. Can you call? I place my hand over Jake's mouth. I don't mean to shut him down so abruptly, but I'd rather not tell the paramedics what I just saw. No, fuck, no hospitals or doctors. I just had an intense headache, that's all. Zeke, I don't think... Look, I'll just get some water, then everything will be fine. Jake and Kelsey look at me with skepticism, but I can't exactly tell them that I saw their faces melting, at least not without one of them freaking the fuck out. Mason yanks me awake from Jake. Though he looks more calm than the other two, his grip is extremely tight though. If he was any stronger, my bones would probably have broken. Kelsey, can you take Zeke to the prizes to get some water? Jake and I can wait here in the meantime. Whoa, I don't think that I'm comfortable just standing here while... Jake, it's fine. Kelsey will be with me. Just stay here with Mason for a bit. I can tell from Jake's expression how much he wants to protest. I attempt to give him some pitiful eyes to just get him to goddamn stop. Fine. But if you have another quote-unquote headache, I'm calling 911. Deal. Kelsey pulls me along as I let out a sigh of relief. Looking back though, I can see Mason crossing his arms and his brows lowering. Maybe it wasn't the right decision to leave those two together. I have trouble keeping my balance as we walk over to the prizes. I guess that episode took more out of me than I thought that it did. Kelsey flags down an employee, a pallid bat, whose annoyed expression drops when he sees me. I'll have to put up the camera on my phone later to see what I look like. Excuse me, can we get some water? My friend had a bad headache. Even the poor worker doesn't seem to buy that. He hesitates, just staring at me, mouth agape before turning to Kelsey. Yeah, I'll get you a water bottle, free of charge. The bat quickly walks over to a fridge behind the desk and searches for a water bottle. He looks back at me every 2 seconds. I feel a bit shameful about all the attention. Thank you. Kelsey grabs the water bottle before he even has the chance to set it on the desk, shoving it into my chest as she guides me over to the racing games. I struggle to open the water, my hands shaking as I try to look away from Kelsey. The image of her gory skull is still seared into my brain. When I finally manage to get the lid off, I accidentally squeeze some of the water out onto the floor, just narrowly missing Kelsey's skirt. Shit. Zeke, we still have a couple of days left here. We can just come back when you feel better. I take a huge sip of water. The ice-cold liquid makes my throat feel like it's on fire, as if it's raw. I set the water down next to my foot, fiddling with the cap as I speak. I already ruined my plans earlier when we were looking around town. Plus, I slept through a lot of yesterday. I'm not a kid. I can handle a bad headache. Zeke, I know that wasn't a headache. If anything, it looked like you were having a seizure. You were just frozen, staring off into nothing. You were sweating and making weird sounds. They were like nothing that I've ever heard before. You looked scared. I swallow hard, looking over to the other side of the arcade. Kelsey's stern expression pops up into my mind as I realize how guilty I must look. I know you don't like being babied, but Jake and I were terrified, and Mason was... Well, I had to hold him back so that he didn't accidentally make the situation worse. I let out a light chuckle, finally facing Kelsey. I know she means well, but I'm not gonna let myself ruin this trip again. I promise that after this, I'll stay in bed for the rest of the day. Let's just play some games for now, okay? Okay, but like Jake said, I'm calling 911 if it happens again. I pick up my water bottle, about to take another sip when I hear yelling coming from the other side of the arcade. I can't make out what's being said, but it's definitely an argument. Mason. I leap out of the race car seat, screwing the cap back onto my water bottle as I steady myself. Kelsey's ears have perked towards the direction of the noise. Seems like she heard the commotion too. Jesus Christ! I can only jump as I hear Jake scream, followed by a massive crash that echoes throughout the arcade. Kelsey tries to grab my arm, but by the time that she reaches for me, I'm already in a sprint. The raccoon is laying against a light gun game, blood slowly dripping down his head as he grasps the side of it. I run up to him, kneeling down as I pull his fur back to examine the wound. Thankfully, it's not too deep of a cut. I imagine his head is hurting much more. Kelsey, see if they have a first aid kit here. The cheetah runs back to the desk, although it sounds like the bat already heard me. I take my time to look around for Mason and see if he's at any of the machines. Please don't let it have been him. Please don't let it have been him. He's nowhere in sight. I turn back to Jake, who seems to be recovering somewhat. He flashes me a cheeky grin, but I'm too worried to even smile back. Kelsey and the employee come up behind me with the first aid kit, the bat already preparing the disinfectant for the wound. Jake groans as he sees the bottle, knowing that a major sting is on the way. The cut's right here. Jake, please don't tell me that he did this. Jake winces as the disinfectant seeps into his cut. Kelsey is already preparing some wrapping for the wound, unraveling the gauze from its spool. Jake, please, he didn't, right? That motherfucker! I bang my fist against the machine, my breathing about as stable as an earthquake. Jake looks terrified when I turn back to him. Zeke, calm down. Which way did he go? The raccoon turns to Kelsey, both with fear in their eyes. If I wasn't so pissed off, I would apologize. Right now, though, I need to find that dog and end this bullshit once and for all. Jake shakily points outside in the direction of the trail. Of course he went that way. I make a beeline towards it, the rest of the world turned out of my mind. Mason is walking towards a motel, a giant stick in his hand dragging along the ground. It bounces off a root and hits a tree, making a loud thunk. I walk up to the dog, my steps increasing in volume. As I approach, the dog begins to turn to me and I do something that I never thought that I would do. I hit him. Hard. Ow! Mason falls to the ground, looking at me shocked, my shadow looming over him, snapping me out of my rage, and I feel a sting coursing through my fingers. I look at my fist, surprised that I just did that to my own brother. What the fuck was that for? I feel like crying, screaming, and laughing all at once. As my breath begins to steady, I look back at Mason as he stands back up. What the fuck is wrong with you? I don't know what you're talking about. You know, if you're going to assault Jake while I'm in the same building as you guys, maybe don't flee the scene. You have been nothing but an asshole for the past 2 days, Mason, hitting my friends, treating them like dirt, and constantly making empty promises that you'll be better. Oh, like you're Mr. Perfect? Have you thought about how you've been? Dragging me to places that you know that I hate, waving away my concerns like they're nothing, and not even just saying hi to Dad after 15 years? Mason's fangs are bared as he steps forward, getting in my face. With each point he makes, he pokes me in the chest, right where my scar is. I can hear a low growl come from within me, my throat trembling as it rises up. I push Mason back, though this time he manages to stay on his feet. Oh, I'm so fucking sorry that I want to get my memories back. I'm sorry that I don't understand what you're going through because you're not telling me. And Mason, maybe I need to work up some courage first before saying hi to someone that I haven't seen in 15 years. That's a normal fucking thing. And my things aren't normal, Zeke? My emotions are just a load of bullshit? That's not what I meant, and you know it. No, I don't. So how about you tell me what you mean, you asshole? Tears begin streaming down my face, water staining my fur with every sob. I'm trying to keep myself together, but I know what I am. Pathetic. Why? Why do you hate Jake and Silas so much? What? You've been nothing but cruel to them since yesterday. Why do you hate them? I can't lose you again, Zeke. Not again. They will take you away. I just want us to be a family again. Wait, what? Huh? They wouldn't take me? I have room in my life for both a boyfriend and my brother. Sure didn't seem like you did. Mason, that's not fair. Mom wouldn't let me go on any websites that didn't involve school. You didn't search for us when you got into college, though. Kelsey even gave you our information. You're being unfair. Forget it, Zeke. I'm so tired of this. Tired of everything. Mason sits down on the dirt path, bringing his legs towards his chest. He looks down, sobbing into his pants as he covers his ears. And why won't that damn clicking sound just go away? All I can do is stand and watch as the big dog cries. My hands tremble as I struggle to get back down from my anger. Mason isn't wrong about everything, but I just want to help. Damn it. What was I thinking before? Why did I punch him? I didn't want to, but I still did. And it didn't even make me feel any better. If anything, I feel 100 times worse than before. I debate on whether I should go back to the arcade or the motel, but to be honest, neither place seems like a haven right now. I look through the trees to try to pull myself out of this, at least for a little bit, but what I see makes my blood run cold. Endless miles of trees repeating upon each other, not like a regular forest trail, no. These are sections of the trail multiplying on and on and on. I can even make out the tree that Mason's stick hit, the bark chipped off. It looks like there are hundreds of them. Fuck. Mason, get up. Fuck off, Zeke. Just leave me alone. Mason, I'm not joking. Get up. Mason lifts his head, his eyes red from crying. However, his face quickly morphs from one of sorrow to abject horror. He stammers, pointing towards the other end of the trail behind us. I turn around to look at it. Miles and miles of trees. Through the little light that peeks through the leaves, I can see a hint of red. I fall backwards as my foot hits a rock. Mason and I turn to each other as the shadows from the thousands of trees surround us. And that's when I hear it. The goddamn clicking sound. To be continued in Build 4. So poor little Mason. I actually did not catch that he would have had autism, but looking at it now, I suppose it does make sense in that he's being overstimulated by basically being back in the town, but like as someone who probably has autism, hasn't been diagnosed by it, but does for sure know that he has sensory issues and even sound issues, to the point where sometimes when I'm editing, there's little noises. Hey, look, there's my name. There's like little noises that I pick up in the audio of my recordings and things like that I sometimes spend hours and hours and hours trying to get rid of it because it bothers me. And even like a little light that I have over my computer setup, it has I can sometimes hear the electrical buzzing, and it annoys the hell out of me sometimes to the point where I can't sleep because I can hear it. And then sometimes when like all like electrical noises, I can hear those and they bug me. But yeah, anyways, there's more right now, so hold on. So normally you get the option to go to the cat's corner where Brick Zed would talk to you about like the previous or what you literally just read and whatnot. But this time it kind of seems like we're being forced to go there. So yeah. I imagine that you thought the cat was going to be here. Am I right? Oh, don't worry. They're fine. I can't hurt them from here. As much as I'd like to have some words with them, that simply is not possible. Although, I can have a little bit of fun once in a while like this. Well, if you must know, I was bored. That's the reason that I'm borrowing the cat's corner for a tad. I was waiting all built for Ezekiel to doze off, but he never did. Anyway, I suppose that I should pass along their message. I might be a bit of a trickster, but I am polite. The cat hopes that you have enjoyed Build 3 of Silverstone. It took quite a bit for the team to make due to various personal issues behind the scenes. They seem to be quite proud of the writing this time, saying that it's a massive step up from the last build. They especially wanted to show some more of the inner turmoil behind some characters, especially Mason, who seems to be stuck with our little Ezekiel at this time. The team's goal is to have multifaceted characters, those who aren't perfect, but you can still hold some sympathy for them or have some kinship with. It seems their favorite scene to write was actually the scene where Mason, Jacob, and Ezekiel all awoke in the middle of the night. I wonder if that was anyone else's favorite. And of course, there are new sprites by Cyber and Luz. The cat says that they did a fantastic job bringing out the full range of emotions for Jake and Kelsey, and hopes you liked them. No need to ponder, I'm getting new sprites next build. As for music, the cat tried their hand at composing some of the tracks that you hear this time. They really like the songs that they made for the Steel Vice section of the arcade. They will be posting some more high-quality versions of the songs in the future, but are saying that the song for Soul Whip will take a much longer time. Even I can't parse out the reason why. They also plan on working with Kalamazoo to replace all the royalty-free songs either by Build 4 or Build 5. Kalamazoo will be working on the more horror or tension build tracks, and the cat will be comprising the calmer slice of life ones. The cat also plans to update some of the menus by Build 5, but they don't know if this will be implemented by them. They mostly wanted to clean them up and make the save and load screens less confusing. You know it's bad if the developer gets confused. The next build is the beginning of Mason's Chapter 3, and I have plans for what will be happening there. No, you heard me right. I have plans. I might have been absent this time, but the horror for those two is only just beginning. But don't worry, I won't do anything too bad to them. I won't. What can I say? I'm not the fool that trapped them there. You'll have to ask the cat about that one. If you want to support Team Silverstrides, as they make this game, there are multiple ways that you can help and connect with them. Momentarily, you can support them on Patreon if you have a cent to spare. If you want to connect with the team, there is also Discord and Blue Sky. What in the hell are those places? The cat expects a Build 4 to be out sometime in the fall, since quite a few of the assets are already made. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Whatever the time is where you are, I hope you have a pleasant day. It's actually 1:15 a.m. Oh, actually, I left you a little something to read through. You'll have to dig through the files to find it, however. Had to keep it hidden from the cat and all that. Once again, I bid you farewell. Actually, would you guys like to see what he is talking about? Future me who was editing this, superimpose the image. Spooky. Anyways, but yeah, what was I saying? Mason, autism, sensory issues, and yeah, that I can relate with that. Like even with like the heat and the cold, like that whole weird thing. I both hate and need a certain type of noise all throughout the day, or else it'll drive me insane. Electrical noises and light at a certain temperature, like meaning where like, oh, there's daylight, but then there's also like the soft white light that's actually like yellow, and then there's like the warmer yellow light, and then there's like the really bright white light, and then but yeah, like, I should just get diagnosed. Anyways, I can also sort of see why he's so attached to Zeke now, after, well, not after his childhood, but like that he ended up growing very attached to Zeke, and like having the parents get divorced, having not Zeke there, and I think that the dad is also sick. I don't actually remember. I know there's something up with the dad, but I don't really remember what it was. I'll have to go looking through the videos that I re-recorded. Not re-recorded, that I recorded previously. Or I could just reread that part of the story. I just remember that there's something up with the dad. And I mean, it is true that Ezekiel does sort of have to work up the courage to speak to his ex-stepfather, because, you know, they have been divorced and they haven't spoken in 15 years, and it does, as far as we can tell from what Mason is saying, it does kind of seem like Mason's dad is maybe a little excited to speak to Ezekiel again, well, to Zeke again, but it could also just be that Mason is, like, in his own words, he wants his family back, even though technically Zeke isn't his brother anymore, again. So like, I mean, I suppose like your parents get married, you become brothers, stepbrothers, but then they get divorced. Are you still brothers, or are you just friends now, you know? That's, Anyways, so what are your thoughts? Write it down in the comments, and thank you all for watching/listening. If you would like to play Silverstone yourself, you can do so by going down to the link in the description, which should have a direct link for the itch.io page where you can download and play the game yourself. If you would like to support the project, as the Inky Black Jackal said, you can subscribe to their Patreon where you get earlier access to the builds of Silverstone, I think. And like they said, the newer build, or the next build, is coming in the fall, so expect it then, but like, it does help support it. I mean, this is a very, very interesting visual novel. If I recall correctly, it is partly inspired by Igarashi. So yeah, like, if you've played that or seen the anime that was released based on it, then you should kind of know what may or may not happen. But yeah, you know, if you'd like to support the channel, consider becoming a channel member. Gives you earlier access to these videos as they're being scheduled. And I don't know if anybody has noticed, but the names don't appear at the beginning anymore because YouTube screwed me. And previously, everybody's names would just appear as a normal name that you pick when you sign up for YouTube. But now some of them appear with numbers, and nobody's name looks normal. Like, you would actually have to go back into your YouTube channel, even if you don't like upload anything. The account for the YouTube, whatever, on YouTube, to put like the name that you want to display so that I can see who is subscribing. And I'm gonna again try to redo the thing based on what the information that is available. But you're gonna start to see a whole bunch of like weird looking names with numbers if you guys don't put like a name that you want through your own YouTube setting, channel, whatever. So like, yeah, some people did that already, but like everybody still has like weird numbers and things. Like, I recognize some of the icons, but none of the names make sense to me. So if I did it, I would have to redo it all over again, unfortunately. But I'll do it eventually. I'm just saying, like, there's a reason why you don't see it anymore. It's YouTube's fault. Anyways, what else? If you cannot subscribe or don't want to subscribe or whatever, you can support through other means. You know, I do have a Ko-fi, you know, do that. You can give the videos a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. That is all appreciated. I did see some people started again subscribing again and giving, you know, video likes. Keep doing that. And just leave comments, you know, talk about your favorite character, talk about little story point that I may have forgotten or whatever. Talk about the weather. Just engage with the video, please. What else? Oh yeah, so any form of support is appreciated. I also have a throne. I guess that's it for now, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.